Welcome back to Educator.com's application essay course. This lesson is about how to get into competitive schools. Let's get started. Okay, first off, I'm going to define what competitive schools are for the purposes of this lesson. These are the big name marquee schools like Harvard and Stanford and Yale and MIT and the ones where if you get into that school, your parents will be proud of you until the day you die and everyone in your family is going to have one of their sweatshirts. Those schools. The schools that have really big advertising budgets and really, really good reputations, whether or not they're actually good schools. These schools are very competitive. So this lesson is specifically about how to get into those schools. It builds on the rest of the course. So if you haven't seen the lesson on prompts and how to write an essay and all that stuff, you should probably go over that. But this focuses specifically on how to get into Harvard and whatnot. And I actually have gotten students into Harvard, Yale, Stanford, oh golly, I can't remember them all, but a bunch of them. So, to begin with, our overview. First things first, calm down. I have never yet met a student who was applying to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, whatever, who wasn't at least a little bit freaked out. So, step one, take a breath. These schools are actually pretty much the same as the schools that you are applying to that aren't so scary. We're going to look at some of their particular essay prompts. They are asking exactly the same kinds of questions as mainstream schools, and they're expecting the same answers. All right, now that you've calmed down, and you've done some yoga or had a cookie or whatever, don't actually calm down that much. Okay, these schools are high-pressure environments, and we'll talk about how to deal with that. And they have large applicant pools, and we'll talk about how to make yourself stand out from the crowd. Okay, we will talk about how and when to gush. It is perfectly normal when writing an application essay for one of these schools to talk about how wonderful the school is and how desperately you want to get in. There's a right way and a wrong way to do that. First of all, it's good to be excited. Second of all, don't get so excited that you make things up. People can Google, they can check them. And third, you'll find that these schools are actually a lot like the popular kids in middle school and high school. And the same techniques you use for handling the popular kids, you can use on Harvard. Not kidding. All right, to begin with, calm down, take a breath, have a cookie, play with a dog, whatever you need. Highly competitive schools are really a lot like less competitive schools. They've just got better branding, sometimes because they're a few hundred years old, and usually they have more money. They have bigger endowments. They're just richer schools. But here's the thing. Their essay questions are usually quite similar to the questions for normal schools. They're still looking for the three things that pretty much all schools are looking for. They're looking for preparation, evidence that you paid attention in your prior education. They're looking for talent, evidence that you have the natural ability to succeed in your given field. And they're looking for fit. They're looking for someone who's going to be an asset to their campus. And if that sounds familiar, that's because that's exactly what all the other schools are looking for too. Feeling a little better? Now, I can tell that some of you don't believe me about these schools having the same prompts and looking for the same things, so I'm going to prove it. Remember experience prompts that ask you to describe an experience in your life? Well, here's one from Princeton. Tell one story about yourself that would best provide us, either directly or indirectly, with an insight into the kind of person you are. That is a classic experience prompt, and it comes from an Ivy League school. How do you answer this? Well, you might remember from our lesson on prompts. Pick an experience that you remember well, one that makes a good story, and turn that into your essay.